I'm calling it. There's a spiritual solution to every problem. And while I have time here to speak to you, and I'm honored to do so, this is the 4th or 5th time, I'm not here to tell you how to be better chiropractors. I'm not here to tell you how to be better healers. Even as a young man, was very dramatically impacted by a teacher. Some of you have heard of, some of you studied. I was blessed to know he passed away. And I felt that when he passed away, he was passing a baton on and handing it to me saying, I've sort of explained this to the academic world. This concept of self-actualization and enlightenment and higher consciousness and higher awareness. Now you take it and run with it and explain it to the cab drivers and the pizza delivery people and the accountants and the chiropractors and everybody that's out there that we call common folks. His name was Abraham Maslow. And Maslow was very influential in my life. He was the first person that I ever read that I felt touched and talked to my soul. He emphasized the importance of always looking at what is possible for a human being on the basis of the greatest who've ever walked among us, rather than on us making assumptions about people and their capacity to heal themselves or their capacity to grow or the capacity to be great geniuses as being based upon what is wrong with people. He quoted Kierkegaard often, who said that once you label me, you negate me. Once you put any kind of a label on me, whatever you call it, whether it's as of hypertension, as Jerry Lewis was called, hypertensive, whether it's as a slow learner, whether it's as non-musical, or any kind of a label that you can come up with. When you place a label on a human being, you negate them, and you begin to treat the label. You begin to treat the thing that you've identified them with. And Maslow said that rather than studying all of the things that are wrong with people and all the things that we can't do, let's instead focus on the greatest who've ever walked among us, these powerful people who've lived self-actualized lives. And let's make assumptions about what is possible for all of humanity, that if any one of us can do it, all of us can do it. And that's right out of the scriptures, as Jesus said, even the least among you can do all that I have done and even greater things. It's in every one of us, this power to see ourselves as saints, this power to see ourselves as capable of accomplishing virtually anything that we put our attention on, this capacity to manifest. This capacity to be able to use our mind to create anything at all, whether it's abundance or a divine relationship or a healing or anything in between. And that there are certain qualities or characteristics that people who share this idea of self-actualization have that I will be talking about a little bit later on this afternoon. And as you look at some of these qualities, you will see that these were people that do not fit in. I'm so thrilled to have written Wisdom of the Ages because it's the book I've always wanted to write. I always wanted to take a look at people who I have admired so much. Not one of them died with their music still in them. Not one of them. Every one of them lived lives of incredible passion, and they were all troublemakers in their lifetime. It's funny how we as a society have a tendency to honor our living conformists and our dead troublemakers, isn't it? It's almost as if you have to be wiped out before we can revere you. And the qualities and characteristics of these people I don't want to get into now because I want to move in a little different direction. But I want to share with you how powerful this idea of looking at a patient or looking at yourself or looking at your child as a parent and seeing the potential for magnificence and sainthood that is there and seeing the capacity for healing if you're a chiropractor, or if you are in the healing profession, seeing anybody that walks into your office as already possessing the capacity to be able to heal themselves. But they need to have in their energy field someone who will not contaminate it further with their idea that they are diseased or that there is something wrong with them. It is in the energy field of the healer that determines whether healing will take place. My humble opinion, and it is what we believe and how strongly we believe it. I did a very special benefit on Maui a few years ago for a young man named Michael Knaff. Michael was 32 years old, living on Maui, living his dream. Like my little boy who was 12 tells me, "Dad," he said, "would it really upset you?" He said, "if I just wanted to be a professional skateboarder and surfer?" Because that's his whole life. He goes to a pair of shoes every 2 weeks because he wears them out with that skateboarding stuff of his. Everywhere he goes, he's grinding. All right, he's got this board, and he's on it, and he's lifting it up and flipping it in the air, and that's his whole life. I always tell him, Sans, if that will make you happy and you feel fulfilled in your life. Skateboarding and surfing, God bless you. You don't have any expectations of mine to live up to at all, especially that I would support you. But if you can figure out a way to make a living at it, boy, God bless you. Go for it. Anyway, Michael was a surfing instructor, and he was a lifeguard and a waiter, and he was living his dream, a dream that I've sort of had at the back of my mind for a long time, the idea of living in that beautiful place in Maui, because I've conceived 5 of my books on Maui and 4 of our children. It's a very high-energy place. One day he was out in the surf over by Kihei, and a wave was coming in. Someone had thrown a frisbee, and in the process of throwing the frisbee, he dove for it. Instead of the wave continuing to come in, this is one wave out of a million, it reversed and it went back. In that instant when that wave went back, he dove, and he severed his neck. He's a quadriplegic like Christopher Reeve, only he does have movement with his arms. And he was rendered a newborn with all the needs of a newborn in that instant. A friend of his called me and asked, since I was on the island for the summer, if I would come over and give a talk something like this, if they would charge people $25 or whatever. And if they would, we would donate all the proceeds to helping him to go to the Miami Center for the study of spinal cord injuries and do a full assessment and so on, and also purchase a van for him. And so I did that along with my friend, Jerry Jampolsky. At the end, it was a wonderful evening. It was very successful, and we raised all the money that was necessary. At the end of the talk, there was a man who lives on Kauai who came. He came up to me afterwards, and he was introduced to me as a kahuna. Now, kahuna is considered to be a great healer. They're raised in a tradition of being healers, and healing is something that has been very, very much on my mind in the last year or two. I've had some very dramatic experiences with it. I've had some people who were told that they wouldn't survive who have recovered completely. I've been studying some of the ancient healing principles as I'm writing this book about a spiritual approach to everything in our life, a spiritual solution, rather to everything in our life. I have written down, and I intend to share them with you, 7 very profound and important principles which probably you weren't taught at chiropractic school, which have come to me from some ancient sources that I'll share with you today. I will read them to you if I don't talk about them in depth. This kahuna was a clear man. You know what I mean when I say clear. Have you ever been around someone whose energy field you know is more purified than your own? They said of Jesus that when he would walk into a village, just his presence in the village and nothing more would raise the consciousness of those around him just by being in his presence. They said that of Buddha. I have been with people who are vibrating at a different frequency, if you will, than ordinary human awareness. When I'm around those people and in their presence, I sense something that is non-contaminating. Not only that, but it is life-enhancing, and you feel what they call in a kundalini, like an energy moving up and down. I call it like a warm shower running inside of you. Have you ever had that feeling where you just know there's something going on inside? You're not sure quite what it is, but it just feels so good that you don't want it to stop. Very often it's because you're in the presence of the energy of someone like that, or you are thinking about someone like that, or perhaps meditating about someone like that,